So today we're going to talk about what would you do if you had to do it all over again? Would you do exactly what you're doing now, and not in this kind of journey state? But I'm talking about like when you were in fifth grade, what did you tell your teacher you wanted to do for a living?
In fifth grade, or what would I do now?
What would you like in fifth grade?
Well,
you wrote
I
down,
wanted to be a pilot. I wanted to be an airline pilot.
Okay. So, when you wrote down pilot,
Yeah.
how come you're not a pilot?
Because in sixth grade, my eyesight became very nearsighted, and I was like, I think you need perfect vision. I needed to go to the military because I didn't have money to go pay for all my ratings, and so I was like, there's no way it'll ever happen. It was heartbreaking, really.
In my shoes, I wanted to do everything. I wanted to be a pilot. I wanted to be president. I wanted to be an astronaut. I wanted to be a firefighter. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't pick one, right? So this is the two sides of the story, right? Because when I was talking to a kid this weekend that is friends with my daughter, and I said, what do you want to do? Because as a senior in school, I said, what do you want to do? I don't know. I said, it's so kind of like a perk. Like for me, that would have done really well.
Right.
Because I would have said, I would have been dialed in and given focus. But for a lot of kids that already know what they want to do, or kind of like, I want to do maybe this, and she just doesn't know, and whatever. So it's like, why are they making kids decide what they want to do for a living in eighth grade, right? And my theory was this. School is an aptitude test from when you start to the beginning. If a kid comes up in second grade and says, I want to be president of the United States, they say, oh, right, here's a leader. Let's put him or her into this lane of STEM or this. And it's like this kid said he just wants to be in IT. Well, let's put him in technology. He doesn't really need to be a leader, but he's going to be a worker.
I don't even know if you need to get that specific, but I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense. I feel like we have tools now that we didn't have when we were kids.
80s and 90s were not.
Right. So in the 80s and 90s, well, they were starting to happen. I remember taking a career type test when I think I was a senior in high school. And I lied on it because I thought, I need to be an engineer. Because my dad had a physics degree, but always said, you need to be an engineer. Because his dad was an engineer. My mom's dad was an engineer. And I thought, oh, that sounds good. I started taking engineering courses in college, and I hated it. It wasn't my thing, right? I mean, it wasn't like I hated it. It was just, it wasn't the fit for me. I'm more of a people person. But I will say this. I just watched a video last night about, I think it was a reel on Instagram, or maybe it was YouTube, about Finland. And they had these Finnish students that most of them all just sitting around the table anyway, were bilingual, trilingual, or more languages. And they said one of them had studied in America as a kid as well, and said in America it feels like you're always studying for an aptitude test.
Yes.
Whereas
you're going
in
into
Finland, they don't like the kids were saying. We don't really do multiple choice tests. Like every once in a while, there might be a couple questions, maybe true, false, but there's just not a lot of multiple choice. I think post-COVID with the iPads, like my stepdaughter who's on their iPad, it's just constantly iPad.
And it's giving multiple choice.
You're not working through things in the same way. But I feel like, what if there was an education where kids started, we started observing their personalities clearly with parental involvement. So you need to have a household where the parents care. But utilize, especially as getting into high school and senior high school, like that last couple of years, junior, senior, what is your personality? And what, to your point, what is your natural inclination and aptitude?
Right. So that means, being that I did not know what I wanted to do, I should have just done general studies and found my lane. So I feel like I wanted to do so much and ended up doing nothing. I ended up in a business to where it's very nichey, and it's like, how did you get into this? It was all about the journey and the path of knowing who I knew, and I did really well of it, not because I'm good at that profession, it's because I'm good at doing lots of different things, right? So it's like, this works well because I like to be a jack of all trades kind of thing. So, but in your business, you got into basically finance, right? So it's basically got into
I stumbled into it when I was 29.
Right. I
trying
stumbled
to figure out what to do to feed my family.
Right. And I needed to make a living. You needed to make a living. And we were pushed into that. But going back, you would be a pilot. I think
I don't know, like, to do it over again now. That's why I asked you, what did I want to be in 5th grade, or what would I do now, knowing even more about myself?
Well, that's the easy thing, because now
I would not be a pilot.
You have a 20/20 vision, not against your vision, but you'd have 20/20 vision looking back. It's like, what would I have done now that I know? I wouldn't have gone down the law degree knowing what I know now, but I probably would have done something more in an entrepreneur state. And they actually have entrepreneur type programs and different things going, hey, I don't know what I want to do, but I know I want to run something, and I want to learn how to run a business.
I even think rushing into college or university isn't always the best plan either. It's easy to feel like when you're graduating from high school and like you see all the people around you and they kind of know what they're going to do, or they're going to follow in one of their parents' footsteps or something like that. There's this pressure, especially if you're a good student and you have some direction in your life, right? But I feel like
you find your passion in college sometimes.
So I forget who said this. I don't know if it was Tim Ferriss or, like, honestly, it was somebody I read. Elon Musk, I don't know, said in your 20s, you are experimenting. Like, the thing to do in your 20s is to explore. I won't even say experimenting. I would say exploring. Explore different things and really try to understand yourself.
You can make mistakes.
I got married when I was 21 years old. Which that marriage didn't end up lasting in my case. But what happens is I got so caught up in the path of, I need to make a living. I need to pay rent. I need to buy diapers because I had a baby a month after I turned 22, as you did.
Yeah, so we're like
You're just under the gun, and you don't take time
chasing the dollar bill opposed to the passion.
Right. Well, and chasing the dollar bill, not even like chasing the dollar bill in an entrepreneurial sense. You're not trying to grow something. You're just trying to like my friend Matt Royal from Service First Mortgage, right? He always said, you wake up in the morning and you're chased by a gazelle. Like you're a gazelle who wakes up in the morning on the Serengeti and you're chased by a lion. Every single day you wake up, and as soon as you come to conscious thought, you're running until you collapse in bed.
So you don't have the time in your 20s, and you're in a situation like us, and not saying that my marriage is a mistake or my kids are a mistake. I'm not taking that back. But I'm saying in that time, the focus was like not necessarily like building this program, right? Because that return on the investment takes time, and so we were so focused on grabbing that next check, the bigger check, and like, man, I really should have been building what I wanted to do when I'm in my late 30s.
Right.
Not
so your 20s is your exploration. And that includes, I would say, your education. So I don't think you need to hurry up and get to college when you're 18 if you don't have any clue. I think doing something like, I don't know.
I would disagree with that. I think if you don't know what you do, you go to college.
It costs so much money and you're starting to get pegged. Okay. Well, I think that there's a lot of education.
That's the thing, is like, I don't have to go to a TCU or a Harvard. I can go to a college that's affordable. State colleges. If you work hard,
know what you're doing, you might get bad grades that could affect your GPA for future transcripts. I would say still take 1 year, maybe 2, and explore different things that you have. But
you lose so much of that information that you're carrying over. A lot of that first year of that.
I don't think so. Not from high school. I think you can gain a lot of. I'm not saying sit on your butt.
Isn't technical college does the same thing? It's like, look, I want to just get into a trade, and that just puts you in this lane again. You go back into this lane. It's like, I'm identifying as okay. I want to identify as Rory Sanders. You want to identify as John Schaff, right?
Yes.
I don't want to identify Rory Sanders, the title guy, right? Like, that's not what defines me as my career. That my career is a tool that helps me live my life with my family, right? And the problem is I may have picked the best tool for me for that. I don't want to identify as just my career. When you look at people like, what do you think when you see this person? It's like, it's that career. Like,
I think in your case, you're so good at what you do. And I think just the people that you constantly interact with tend to be either needing your services or they're right adjacent to needing your services.
I think I could do that in anything. Because if I get into a hobby and I do a lot of cycling, right? And then people come to me, what about this bike? How do I do this? How do I do this? And like,
that's your passion.
Hey man, I'm just a hobbyist in this, right? So, but people come to me and I feel comfortable with interacting with people. I feel like I could take my skill and I never consider myself a salesman, but I feel like my skill set is probably in that, right? I got the gift of gab or whatever. I can conversate with people. So if I move that into
solution provider, that's what you are.
I can move that into any career.
The problem is you get to a certain age, and those other careers. First of all, you're not going to accept an entry level.
Well, that's
because you cannot, because you have family to support. But listen. But secondly, there's a lot of companies that aren't going to say, "Oh, you don't have any experience in our field. I can see where your skills on a fundamental level will transfer, but we're going to have to put so much training in you. We're just going to take this person that's kind of been up through the
which
ranks."
is good in my typecast situation of being in the real estate industry. I mean, I can that's what I love about real estate is I can be in these different lanes, right? And it's still kind of tied into real estate in this level. But, and the good thing about being typecast and being, I guess, stable in my career is that I can do that. But when you come to like where I want to, my biggest goal right now is like in my 20s, I wanted to be climb the ladder. In my 30s, I wanted to be successful in that career. Now, when I get into my 40s and 50s, I want to be recognized, and not only recognized, but a reliable, reputable source in my career field. So that when I'm in my 60s, I don't want to be like, my dad, and there's nothing wrong with this. My dad is in an entry-level position, or kind of in this position where he works and is completely fine. He's content in that. But I want people, when they look at Rory, it's like, he is a subject matter expert in that field, and he is desirable to hire no matter if he's 45 or if he's 65. We're going to pick him up. I had mentors in this business that were in their 60s and 70s, were still like, relatable in that business. Like, I would
relevant.
Still
relevant.
So relevant in their industry is key. Now that I'm in it, I'm neck deep in it. I can't just like reinventing yourself at this point. And that's where I was kind of getting to that point is, would you reinvent yourself today?
Absolutely, I would.
And that reinvention, because I ran into a guy who says, no, when I said, I'm doing exactly what I want to do right now. I said, no, you misunderstood the question. If you did it again, would you be where you're at now? And he goes, I'm where I am. I said, no. So you have to take the idea of like where I know what I know now. My education or my understanding of where I'm at now. And I say, I love my job is different than that's not what I wanted to do. I love my job, right? I love what I do now. But if I redid it, I wouldn't do what I do now.
Well, have you seen the Venn diagram? And I can't remember if it's 4 circles or 3 circles, but I'll do one with 3 circles. And it's a circle of what you're good at.
Yeah.
It's a circle of what you love or what you're passionate about. And then there's another circle of what can make you a living. Meaning there's some things that you might absolutely love and you're good at them, but it's really hard to make a living. I would imagine riding a bicycle is that, because there's not a lot of prize.
It's a short list of it.
Well, and it's with the prize money, nobody cares that when you're 50, you're not going to necessarily be winning races, but you're not going to make 100,000, for example. Probably, unless you get sponsors.
There's a whole list of bankers category races.
But the point is, the intersection of what I'm good at, what I have a passion for, what I love, and can I make money? I know for me, back in 2009, I became a caregiver during the credit crisis. I did loans during the day, and I was a caregiver for a patient in the evenings and weekends. And a doctor hired me to care for his mother, and he trained me. So I was trained in a lot of medical things, and it sparked or reignited a latent interest in medical stuff. I love reading about medical stuff. I love health-related stuff. Like, I'm interested in nutrition, exercise, fitness, the way the body works. You know, I took an anatomy class, and I loved it. I studied it for fun.
So you kind of
that's a passion.
It could have been a career.
Could have been a career.
And paid well.
I could have, and I also like helping people. Like, I love being able to help somebody, provide comfort and care for somebody. Like, I didn't even really know that about myself growing up, but it's something I like. So I think something like nursing or one of its related offshoots, maybe medicine. Like, could I have been a doctor? Possibly. You know, I was, halfway smart. I don't know. Could I have gotten to medical school or not? I don't know. But there's so many different pathways in that. I think I would have had a very rewarding passion. However, I'm going to say this. I'm naturally very entrepreneurial. So whatever I'm doing, I'm always looking like, what can I do to grow this? Or what can I do to kind of make this my own thing? Because I don't particularly like to be under the micromanagement of a company and its policies to do things, especially if I think it's ridiculous. Like, I mean, I can get along with people. It's not like I hate being part of a team. I love being part of teams.
I hate a cubicle.
But when they're like, you need to dress this way and you need to be in at 8 o'clock, and if you're in at 8:01 and, you know, and you need to stay to 5 and like that kind of thing, or you know, hey, I finished my work at 4.
You know, the biggest problem I had with companies,
what?
And this is why I think I gravitated towards this, is like sitting in a cubicle with the guy next to me making the same, more or less, in this position I'm doing. We're doing the same thing, clocking in the same, and we're not compensated the same. Which, in a good thing, is like, I negotiated because I knew this, because I was overcompensated, in my opinion, of the job I was doing. Because my need at home said, this is what I'd like, employer. And they said, we'll do that. The kid that comes next to me that's single, living at home, could work for half as much because his need at home was different, and he thought that was a lot of money. And I said, to me, I saw a flaw in that system. I'm going, this to me is not what I'm looking for. I'm looking to be compensated on the work that I do. If I do less work, I should be compensated less. If I do more, I should be compensated more.
But that's a whole nother. You're right. That's a whole nother.
That's the problem with entrepreneurship. Is like that to me is like and I knew this early on. I illegally sold candy out of my locker in junior high that made money. For my skateboards and different things that I did, because we grew up pretty poor. I would say poor, but other people that are poorer than that would say you were rich. But we didn't have extra money, so I made my own extra money. I saw early on that I saw it from my dad. My dad did this, and we were in the like 80s with the savings and loan crisis, and all my parents were going through struggles. I saw him do this, so I repeated that, and then going through, I was like, this cubicle life and the number, they just come in and get rid of me at any time.
Yeah.
I said, I'm in control of my own destiny.
I've hated anytime I've had a job that was simply a cubicle or simply you need to stay until 5, even if it makes no sense to stay to 5. You finished all your work. Nobody's counting on you at this point.
It was such a disruption to the family life, too. I'm going, I sat here all day, did nothing, got paid. But really what I wanted to do, if I'm going to do nothing and get paid, why can't I see my child and my wife? You know what I'm saying? Like, I could work from home. They go, no, you can't work from home. I said, but the job I do doesn't require me to be here.
So, you know, they say in the military, I have 2 sons in the military. My father was in the military, and I love the military. I wish I had gone in. That's what I should have done out of high school.
I should have just done it.
But while you're on the contract in the military, they say, you know, the mililitary owns you, right? I mean, they do. They tell you, you know, when you can go and where you can go, like all of that. And that's fine. That's the agreement that you make. But when you work for, and let's just, for lack of a better term, call it corporate America, they might not own you, but they rent you. Right? They're leasing you. And so the thing is, if they lease you for 40 hours a week or 45 hours a week or whatever it is, if they have nothing for you to do, they're still going to sit you down on that chair and say, stay here. Like, I've paid for you. I'm paying for you. That's what you get.
I just want you to sit there.
Right. And the issue then is you're not, isn't it, who is it? Is it Kevin O'Leary that says that a salary or a wage is the, what is it? It's the price that you are willing to accept to give up on your dreams or something like that.
That's the Rich Dad Poor Dad guy.
Kiyosaki?
Right? Yeah.
I don't know. Well, maybe they all say it. They probably all say something similar, right?
Yeah.
But that's why I do love commission sales. So I've been in commission sales almost consistently nonstop since January of 99. So it's been a long time, over 24 years. Now, there was a period of time, there have been several periods of time during that time where I either had a side job that I got paid a wage, or there was a period of time for 5 years that I managed in a bank and I got paid a salary.
Is there a time, or is there a job?
But I love the commission. That's my point, because I can make more money.
Sales is where the money is. You can be anything. And think about it, most jobs anyways, like are sales based. Like, you're selling something, but you're selling it for who, right?
Yeah.
Like, you could think about, like, the guy at the drive-through, he's selling something, and he upsells, and the company makes more money. They're selling something. You're selling people to come to your business. The doctors are selling people to come to their practice, and they're sending out mailers. We're all in sales, right? And then there was a guy that says that we're all people business. Without people, there is no business, right? So, and we're all in sales in a little bit of way. So I think if I had to go back, what I wanted to do is I wanted to be a pilot as well. And I think a lot of times people scared me. I was like, it was so much work, and I always thought that I wasn't able to do the work. So they always said, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of this and a lot of this and a lot of this. They scared me away. It's like, oh, well, maybe I can't do that because they're telling me that it's more work than I can handle. Is what that was my interpretation. It was not. I misinterpreted that. They're just saying just be prepared. But I took it as you're not capable of getting to that level. So you probably should just give up on that dream now and find something.
Well, and that's too bad. That's too bad that you felt that. I mean, I honestly have struggled with that at times because of some things when I was younger too.
But that's not. But if I were to go back, I would want to be a better salesman. I would want to learn that trade early on how to be a better salesman. Most people that sell, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, I know they created these companies, but at the end of the day, they sold somebody on something in their dream. They sold people on their dream. Right? And they made it. They sold someone to come work for them that made their dream happen. I think the biggest houses and the biggest cars, not that I want the biggest houses and the most expensive cars, but I think those people are probably in the sales in some way, the best salesmen. Right? And so,
well, okay, coming back kind of full circle, like I do feel like there are these things like sales, which really, when you think about what sales is, it's about engaging with people, and we're talking about legitimate sales where you have a happy customer at the end of the day. We're not talking about baiting and switching and shysty, I'm just selling you a transaction, then I'm taking off. We're talking about actually building a clientele that come back to you over time.
Well, that's the wealthiest people that do that.
You're solving problems. Those types of skills that really are the people skills, the interpersonal skills, those are the skills, along with a lot of very practical skills, even understanding like taxes and some basics about budgeting and things like that. These are the skills that young people, if they learned when they're in school, could start having these habits. And then I do feel like people need to take their teens. Certainly, I would say until your early 20s, you can go practice that. You can go explore things, travel. People that travel, and I'm not talking about some vacation to spring break. I'm talking about an actual go somewhere where the people are different. Europe's fine, but go to countries where there's needs. Go serve. Like I think an awesome thing, and I don't know much about the organization, but I'm just from what I think I know, the Peace Corps, where you go and you work hard. You're working hard, and you're giving back to a community. I've known people that have worked in orphanages in other countries.
But if you have the money, you can do those things.
Some of that doesn't cost a lot of money. If you're serving.
But in our situation, we had kids young, and we couldn't have done that.
I know that's in our case because we had kids.
And I don't think that people should not have kids early because they're scared of those things. I'm just saying that being mindful.
Well, I think people need to be cautious about that. So I think a lot of people have kids young by accident.
If you had kids young, you can still do the things that we talked about, but the focus isn't there because there's either fear or there's pressure. But you can still do it, but there'll be sacrifices.
Right. Well, I was 22 when I had my first kid, so I could have been graduated with my degree.
I could have had a better side hustle. That
even this discussion about a side hustle or entrepreneur, do you realize that it's really been since the advent of the internet, and really I'm going to say since the 2000s, that this whole idea even makes sense. It was hard to have a side hustle earlier, and people did. But think about it: you didn't have the communication.
You could build a landscaping company in the 90s.
But you couldn't do that if you were working hard for your corporate America job for 40 or 50 hours, plus commuting, plus family things. Now, there's things you can do. For one thing, the internet reaches the globe. So your customer base is large. It's not just the people that I'm knocking on doors around my neighborhood. And we're talking about grown-ups, grown men, grown women having side hustles that make meaningful income for them.
I think a lot of times, like, I have a kid at home, and I said, I want him to create a side hustle, but it's not really to him. It's be the only hustle. He's going to school. You can be the hustle. Like you don't really. You create a side hustle, but you have the time because there's no of those things. I'm not going to do to start it, but anyway.
And that's kind of the legacy or the beauty of this. Like my kids, my eldest son for sure is strongly bent towards entrepreneurism, which is interesting because he's in the United States Air Force. But and my daughter is somewhat that way as well. She's in college. She's only 19. Yeah. I think part of the legacy that we can leave with our kids, or not even just leave with our kids, but how we can help our children, is help them look for those opportunities. We didn't have anybody coming to us when we were in our 20s going, hey, it'd be really nice if you, I mean, I had a window cleaning business when I was 19. I went to Home Depot, I bought a ladder, I bought a bucket, I bought squeegees, and I bought sponges. I bought a bunch of like paper towels.
Okay, wait. So what I'm saying, the most important, really, okay, my parents taught me entrepreneurship without showing. It was lead by example. If my parents knew the structure of what they didn't even know what they were doing.
Right, they didn't.
But
know.
if they knew what they were doing,
but
they could tell that.
But that's what I'm saying. You do know much more. You're standing on the shoulders of those that came before. So
with an understanding,
with your kids now have the opportunity of having these discussions. You see what I'm saying? So there is. So we've actually come a long way in that way, and we can provide help.
The legacy I have is what I pass on to my kids and have them grow to the next level. It just, and I'm not saying that I don't hate where I'm at. I love my job. I love the people I work with. I love what we do, and understanding all of what I do is fun. To me, it's fun. But I want my kids to pick something that they want to do, not something they had to do and learn. Not only did they had to do and then learn to love it.
Right.
That's the difference. I guess that's where I'm saying, if we're doing what we're doing, we learn to love it. Or do you do what you love to do? Because just start there. Yeah. Do what you love to do.
If you do something and do well at it, you're going to like it better. So you got sometimes, and everything, I don't care how much you love whatever, being a pilot, being a doctor, being whatever. There's a lot in every job that is drudgery or monotony or it's hard.
I guess everyone gets that. I was like, I hate my job. I'm sure there's pilots out there that hate their jobs.
Well, it's the friction of the struggle that helps you have gratitude. It's the friction of the struggle that helps you stay focused and on track and have a goal. I promise you, if I had been a trust fund baby, and if I knew that every single month when I woke up on the first of the month, I had $25,000 deposited into a checking account, I might be dead. I certainly wouldn't be worth having as a friend. Because I think the struggle has taught me the appreciation of other people and their struggle and the value of hard work and those types of things.
That makes sense. Because and without the struggle, it's just like you don't really know. I mean, was that like the Batman thing on that third one with Bane? He was like, you can't get out of the pit because you don't know. Like
you don't know that you can.
You don't, because you're wearing the belt. He goes, do without the belt. You don't without the rope. You don't have a choice. You grew up with silver spoons, and all you do is you have to be a little scared to know what life is, and you have to appreciate those certain things. And I would at this point it's translating to my kids the legacy. Well, and I just have to learn. I said I love what I do, and that's to me is currently, and like I said, I love what I do, but if I go back, I would not have done what I do. I would have done something different.
Yeah, and that's you, that's me. We're 2 in 8 billion. I would love to hear what people have to say and like weigh in on this topic. I've run
across one person I've asked that question to who said that, and I said, there's no way in 3rd grade you took your crayon, that construction paper, and drew a computer with you standing next to it. No one does that. We all are coded to be a firefighter, be a ministry types of jobs, doctors, lawyers, those things. Everyone wants to do a president, all those things. But
baseball player, football player,
athletics. Now they're probably putting YouTubers, but back then it was like there was this basic. Everyone kind of put the same thing.
Right.
And I said, you weren't even old enough to know what a computer was. They didn't have computers when you were in the 40s, 45s, like not real ones like we know today. But that's like I said, loving what I do and saying I do it all over again. I do exactly what I do. I get that too. I love what I do, but not. I don't think any of us are doing. No one said, you know what? I'm in 3rd grade. Information technology management, working on Apple computers is what I want to do the rest of my life. I'm going,
it's okay.
No one does that.
So you don't know in 3rd grade, but you know by the time you're 23
right,
or
so
33
it's a growing process. Yeah. It's a growing process.
But anyway, awesome.
Anyway,
that was a good discussion.
Yeah.